C1001 students. This assignment is Project 2, our Rhetorical Analysis Digital Showcase. And I will admit this is the most complex project of the semester. But instead of having this as a final project, when you have other finals going on, you have other big projects happening in your other courses, I plan this to be in the middle of our semester so that our final project is actually a little bit easier and takes a little bit less of our time. So just wanted to give you that little bit of a heads up. In this video, I just want to briefly go over the showcase assignment, show you a little bit around Google Sites, but the assignment sheet itself is where you're going to get most of the information. And I prefer that you are reading through the assignment sheet on your own and in detail. Excuse me. Okay, so the introduction here goes over the assignment summary and all the tasks you'll be completing throughout the process of Project 2 to complete this assignment. So what you're going to be doing is you are going to be choosing 3 argumentative texts to close read, annotate, analyze, and then you are going to write a reflection. It's going to be called a rhetorical analysis, a piece analyzing whether you feel that author was effective in making their argument or whether they were ineffective. And in that process, you'll be looking at various critical reasoning techniques, how they use those techniques to be more persuasive, or maybe they tried to use those techniques and it didn't work as well. And so you're really analyzing their argument. And then at the end of this, you're going to write 3 of these mini papers. They're only 500 to 600 words each, very brief. And then at the end, you're going to gather all 3 of these mini papers in a digital showcase using Google Sites to present your work. And so this is taking place of what would typically be a 1,500 to 2,000 word argumentative rhetorical analysis essay. And so instead of writing one big essay, we're kind of just writing 3 smaller papers and then presenting them in a showcase. So hopefully it's a little bit more accessible and obtainable to write a couple 500 to 600 word essays instead. Okay, so again, going through the assignment sheet is going to take you through that process. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to choose a text for your analysis. So you're actually going to be working on 3 texts. And so the first one is a TED Talk. I want every student to analyze this one TED Talk. So everybody should have this TED Talk on their assignment sheet at the end of the project. So you can view this TED Talk here, and you can also, if you go to click it, you can expand it. Oops, sorry about that. You can expand it over to to the TED Talk website and find the transcript on there as well. So you're going to be looking at this TED Talk. It's titled, Do Schools Kill Creativity? And then you are going to analyze whether you feel this speaker made an effective, strong argument to convince their reader to agree with them, or do you feel like they were a bit weak in their argument and they kind of lacked those skills needed? Then for the second text, you're going to choose one of these 4. So everybody will have one of these 4. We have a music video, we have an article, there's a booklet that's released to this community, and then another article. So you can choose one of the 4. I do want you to have student choice, and I want you to have some variety and opinions, but then it is also important that you're choosing a text that is making a clear argument and that it's easy to understand what that argument is making. I'm also looking for texts that are making a one-sided argument. So sometimes in our course, we'll be looking at texts that are pro and cons. And so they'll talk about, here are the pros of one side of the argument, here are the cons. I'm not looking for those kinds of texts. In this assignment, we're looking for something that is making an argument. They're trying to persuade their audience to believe one thing or persuade their audience to do one thing, and that's the whole argument. So these are all one-sided arguments, as is this video. The third text, you will get to choose your own text. So you're going to use those critical reasoning techniques we've learned from our handout and examples that we've looked at here and find your own text that you feel is making an argument. And now you might choose a text that you feel makes a terrible argument and analyze that, and that's okay. or you might choose a text that makes a really strong argument. It's totally up to you. I want you to have an option to have a variety. So again, these could be music videos, TED Talks, commercials, speeches, articles. Be creative about the format and choose something that you are interested in. So those are the 3 texts. Again, everybody's going to have this one text on their essay. For the second text, you're going to choose one of the 4. So everybody will have one of these 4. And then the third text will be your own choice. If you're a little nervous about whether that text meets the requirements or not, you will be turning these in ahead of time so I can double check. But if you're not sure, you can always email me individually and let me know if you feel like that is, if you're not sure if that's going to apply correctly to this assignment. Okay, so the second stage of this project is to close read and annotate your texts. So you are going to choose, even though you're going to have 3 texts that you're using for this assignment, you're going to choose one to submit your notes on. So I highly recommend you take notes on all 3, but you're only required to submit your notes on one of these texts. So I'd like you to go through this close reading process. This kind of explains it here. And then here I have a link to a graphic organizer that you will use to submit your notes on. And the close reading process may be different than what you've done before, even if you're familiar with close reading, because you may have done close reading on a literary analysis. This is different. This is a rhetorical analysis. So please make sure you're reading through to understand the difference of that. And then if you click here, this is going to take you to a Google Doc rhetorical analysis. Now, I can edit this, but when you access it, it will not be editable. You will not be able to type directly on the document. What you're going to need to do, like here, it says here, go to File, go to Make a Copy, and then you will make a copy of this for your own Google Drive. This will pop up in your own Google account, and then you'll be able to save it and edit this document. Once you're ready to turn this in, you will click File and Download, and you'll download it in a Word or PDF document in order to upload to Canvas. So go through this. This is going to take you through 3 close readings of the text. You should be reading or viewing the text 3 times to get a good analysis on that. The first text analysis is what is the text saying? Fill out that document. The next read, you're going to look for rhetorical devices based on our critical reasoning techniques, our handout that we did at the beginning of the semester. You'll fill that out, identify some techniques. And then the third time you read it, you're going to be looking through historical, cultural, or social circumstances that text was released in. And so what is the time period that text came to? Who's the audience you feel that text was directed to? And so that's going to influence some aspects of the argument. And so that may take a little bit more research, but you're looking into, do you feel that this is something that was applicable at the time it was released? So that's going to be your third read. Okay, so these are the notes that this is the document you're going to take your notes on. You'll fill that out and you'll turn this in on Canvas. Okay, going back to our course syllabus. So that is the process to close read and annotate your text. Please read through this. I'm just trying to skim through a little bit quickly here. Then, like in Project 1, you will create an outline. You will submit your outline. I will give you feedback on that. Although, again, you're doing 3 of these mini essays, you're only going to submit 1 of these essays to receive feedback on. I will give you feedback on your thesis, on your main ideas, and then you'll take that feedback and apply it to all 3 of your essays. So I'm hoping that one of your essays, it's not just that one of your essays is great and the other 2 didn't take that feedback. I want you to take that feedback and look over your second essay and your third essay and make sure you have all the requirements necessary for your thesis and main ideas. Okay? So definitely look through that outline, copy and paste that structure. Again, only submitting 1. Then you will develop your rough drafts based on the feedback you received, similar to the last project. Again, you're going to look at all 3 of your essays, make sure all 3 of them are developed. And when I say essays, remember, these are very short. These are 500 to 600 words. It's like 4 paragraphs, maybe 5. The challenge here is you do have to be concise. You have to stay within that 500 to 600 word limit. You will probably find, at once analyzing, you're going to write 800 words, 900 words, it might be pretty long. And so the challenge in this is you actually have to cut it down to stay within 500 to 600 word limit. And that's part of the challenge. As college students, we are used to expanding our writing and really developing and elaborating and supporting our points. The challenge of this is you need to make a clear and concise point. Can you make your argument, and can you make it quickly with a clear supporting paragraphs and a conclusion? So you might find that it's actually challenging to stay within this word count. Once you develop your rough drafts, you are going to submit all 3 of your rough drafts, and then your peers are going to give you feedback on those. Again, they're pretty short, so it shouldn't take long for your peers to read through. It's the same as if you were reading through a 1,500 word peer essay. And so your peers, when you look at those texts, you're going to be looking at your thesis, main ideas. Please look over here on all the points that you need to go over when you're providing peer feedback. And then there's a video here as a reminder of that peer feedback process on Canvas. Step 4, I highly recommend you receive peer feedback from the English Center. They are super helpful, so I recommend you do that. And then you're going to take your final drafts and you will submit them in Word format, just so I can look through that similarity report, make sure that you're within that 15 to 20% similarity report range for your papers. But your graded final project will really be in a Google Sites digital showcase. So this section here guides you through how to create Google Sites page and the format that you should include on your essay. Now this video here is how to use Google Sites. This is an older video I used for a different project, but it talks you through, if you've never used Google Sites before, how to create pages, how to insert images, how to embed videos, how to change the fonts and the colors, how to include hyperlinks. So this is still helpful, but right now I'm going to show you kind of how to format this specific project. So your website should include a cover page where you introduce yourself, your course, the 3 texts you choose, and any other information. And then you'll have 1 page for each essay, and it includes this information here. You'll also include a reflection, which is detailed below, so don't forget to look at that. Okay, so I'm going to jump over to Google Sites here so you can see what this looks like. So this is the editing side of my Google Sites page. And so I've created a blank site. I included the title. I changed the background. This is called Rhetorical Analysis Digital Showcase. I included my course information here. And then below I have some spots for my text choices. So this first one is actually, I forgot, a TED Talk, not an article. So I'm going to have my TED Talk that we're all doing. And then the second one, remember we had 4 choices. So let's say I chose the song. And then my third choice, I could choose whatever text I wanted. And I chose a movie that I wanted to use to analyze. Okay. So I'm going to have some links there. I might even hyperlink these to my pages. But again, you'll get into that a little bit more as you develop your page. Okay, so then I'm going to have a page for each item, for each essay. So I have my first page here for again, I titled this article. It should actually be TED Talk. Okay, and then I can change that here. Properties, change my title, TED Talk. Okay, so here's my first page for my TED Talk. I'm going to link the TED Talk here. And then I'm going to include my 500, 600 word rhetorical analysis. And then here I will include my reflection that I write and my works cited page. Okay, so this, I need to change this a little bit. This is going to be a reflection for each, not one for all 3. So choose the text that you did. This obviously is going to be because it was assigned. But then again, kind of speak on that reflection. And then, you know what, now that I am talking through this, sorry, I think this is actually supposed to be a separate page. I'm sorry, this is not supposed to be on each page. It is supposed to be its own page. So let me delete this, and I'm going to delete this. Okay, we'll go back. Scratch what I just said. Okay, so your page here will have the TED Talk. You'll try to embed that in here. So again, we're working on those Google Sites skills. that are all detailed in this video. So include the video here, your rhetorical analysis, your works cited. Then my second page, I chose the song, so I'm going to add that, and I'm going to include the same information. I'm going to take this, the rhetorical analysis, and works cited. And just a tip here, you can take this whole section, press copy, song, go to my song page, and press paste, and it'll be right there. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to take this rhetorical analysis, add that here. I'm going to take this body section where I'm going to paste my, highlight this, paste so it goes underneath, where I'm going to paste my essay, and then my works cited, copy, and go below here, paste, and my text box for my works cited page, and I'm going to paste that on the bottom here. Okay, I just copied and pasted those sections. So now I have this for my song page as well, and then I'm going to, a faster way would just be to duplicate the page. And my third text was a movie, so I'm going to change that so it says movie. Okay, I'm going to include probably just a picture, probably not the whole movie, a picture from my movie. Maybe I'll have a link here for people to access the movie if it's available for streaming on streaming services, my rhetorical analysis, and my works cited page. And then my last page is my reflection page. That's where I got a little mixed up on here. So here I'm going to type my reflection, and you are going to, I can just drag this, there. I'm going to add my reflection here, and this reflection is on the entire project, not every page. So in the reflection, you are going to discuss why you chose those 3 texts, how you feel the project developed you as a writer, and all of these things here. So I'm going to copy that so I remember. Insert text box, reflection. Make that a header. Text box here, and I'm just going to paste that there so I remember this is what I want to include here. This is brief, maybe 150 to 200 words, not too long, and it can be in paragraph format. Okay, so that's my whole project, and then this is what you will publish and you will submit as a website. So you have your home page where you introduce your 3 text choices. You have 1 page for the TED Talk that everybody's doing. You have 1 page for I chose the song. You have 4 different options. Again, show you here. Here are your options. You're going to choose one of these. I chose the song. That's going to be here. And then the third option, you choose your own text. So I chose a movie, and I'm going to discuss that here. And again, this movie is something that makes a very clear argument, maybe like a documentary. And then my last page is my reflection, where I reflect on the assignment as a whole. I am going to make this similar to the Google Doc, where you can make your own copy. So I will make this a copied link so that if you are new to Google Sites, you can take mine here and just customize it to your own document, or you can start yours by scratch. Hopefully that's helpful for you. If you have any trouble with this, let me know. Send me a message, or working with the English Center can be beneficial as well.